I guess I'm also waiting for my slides, but I can talk because I don't have near the anticipation that Tawanda created with her slides. So I'll start by saying thank you to everyone for this opportunity to share the mission of Keeler Gardens on our efforts. It has been an honor, truly, getting to know everyone and to be part of this impressive group of people that has, as Tawanda mentioned, all this power. That's where we're going. Again, I'm Gina Iliopoulos from Keeler Gardens. I do not have a slide. We are a 501c3 that we started in 2016. We educate on and offer opportunities for nature experiences in urban areas. And I mean really urban areas, underserved communities, high density, et cetera. This is for health, for the individuals and for communities so that they thrive. We advocate for nature inclusion in every community, inside and out. So this goes for landscape architecture and interior design, both components. And we advocate in a way that we proclaim that this is a critical need. So this should be a standard for community wellness and development, not a luxury. And we have heard that here at this talk. So our site on the northwest side of Chicago is a pilot program. That's what we like to call it. It's an example for communities anywhere to mimic. We will help you build a nature space if you like. We're open to the public, and I am happy to share more about those details because there are no pictures for us to look at, and everybody wants to go get a drink. So to give you just a little bit of information, when I switched from my background in science into horticulture, I had to actually put in writing why I was doing that switch. And what I wrote down was, I am moved every day by the miracles that nature shows us. And it brings a tear to my eye every time I say it to this day. That was like 15 years ago I came up with that. And it's just, I want others to experience that too. Somebody, was it Nicole, who mentioned awe? It really is critical. I had a conversation with one of our board members, and she's like, oh, I get it. It's about wonder. Yes. And she was moved by that. And that's what we're trying to create. So we work in unique, comprehensive ways at a variety of different levels. And once again, briefly, we can discuss all these points later. We focus on soil science, although we are not soil scientists. We work with the Bionutrient Food Association on a bunch of really extraordinary protocols to regenerate soil so that what comes out of that soil is extraordinary. So an example of that is nutrient-dense produce. Does everyone know what that means? That means that when you grow food, or when you grow anything, a tree, anything, in soil that's healthy, that thing that you have grown is healthy. And then we eat that food and we're healthy. That food tastes better. It's better for you. Another amazing thing, I think somebody mentioned this, there is a study, it's more of a review of a farm that was in the downwind of the Chernobyl explosion. And because of their practices, they had radiation remediation. Yes, the ground was naturally able to remediate radiation. That is what nature can do all on its own. All right, so we have a bunch of other programs. As I mentioned, we can do nature spaces. Over the years, we've presented all of this science. If anybody needs data, oh, look at that, I can go through to the data. Awesome. Wow, you'd think I would know how to use this. Okay, perfect. We are right now on benefits of nature connections / research. We have done research on psychology, sociology, biology, soil science, chemistry. What do you need? We've got it. We're going to put all of that into the Biophilia.1. If anybody needs more of that information. But I think it's safe to say that I don't need to go over the research because we all know it's awesome. Nature does wonderful things. But what we're trying to do with Keeler Gardens is put a very fine point on, what are we doing with that data? Was it Priya who said that earlier? She's like, what are we doing after 20 years of data, 40 years of data? How are we impacting with our knowledge? We have so much knowledge. There's 100 people in this room with all this power. Let's do something with it. That's what Keeler Gardens is trying to do. We're trying to show how we can impact step by step. So, and that was the advocacy message right there. So I'm going to propose. So this is going to be a little choppy because this is the first time I've done this presentation. I'm unveiling this proposal to everyone here. What I've done is I've sort of pared down the construction process. This is how we would build a space. I'm not a builder. I'm not a developer. I have built a couple properties, but they were small and they were me. I built them the way I wanted to. I didn't have to answer to a client per se or a community. I got to do whatever I wanted. So at these steps, think about your power at the step. Think about someone you know who has power at that step. We can make this happen. We can create a project that includes biophilic components at every single step. One of the most important is the beginning. This idea of market research and site selection. I heard a talk a couple weeks ago about an architect, and a client came to him with an island. He had an island. He's like, let's do something with this island. I'm like, must be nice. Awesome. Well, and then actually, who was it? Was it Josiah that was talking about the river? No, I don't remember who was talking about the wall along. Google was working along with grabbing up all the land. Chicago, I'm talking about Chicago because I know Chicago. We have land. We have so much abandoned land. And if you overlap a map or overlay a map of that abandoned land with low tree canopy, hot spots, and crime, oh, look at that. They're all the same. So what if we took all that land and we created and developed communities that supported wellness? And then the people who lived in those communities would be stronger, healthier, smarter. They'd go to school, they'd graduate. There's one model that talks about the billions of dollars in potential savings from health, reduced crime, potential increase in income, billions of dollars. So I'm not talking about the gentrification. I don't like to say that word too loud. I'm talking about a scenario by which we start with a model that we say, how are we as a population investing in this community? It's not a standard ROI. We're not going to go to a developer and say, hey, developer, we want you to spend $20 million on this project and you're going to make nothing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a scenario by which a group of people say, if we want to do this, this is what it's going to cost generally. How do we make that happen? With an attitude of, we can make this happen. Let's do this. So site selection in Chicago, we could get 5 acres, let's say, because it's a couple city blocks that have been abandoned for nothing. Whole Foods did this with the contractor. The contractor was given the land. I think it was 6 acres to 4 acres, given the land for $1 because they created a project by which Whole Foods committed to alleviating the food desert for this community. And they guaranteed 10 years in this community, and they pulled out after 6. So how do we find a way to subsidize, whether it's through investment, whether it's through donation? It doesn't matter how. We don't have to know how. We have to be devoted to the end result. That's the key. So briefly, we'll look at every step quickly. So when we get to feasibility studies, let's make it feasible. Who do you know who can make it feasible? Who do you know is good with numbers? Let's make it work, all right? Pre-development and the planning, those steps are all the places where this group can have an effect on how we develop. And then construction is key because there were a lot of talks about safe products, maybe the bio-based materials, which for me is new because I'm not in the construction business, but wouldn't that be awesome if we could create something in Chicago that we could use materials, create a bio-based product that then could be used to create beautiful properties. Solved all of our problems in 5 minutes. Look at that. And then occupancy is another extraordinary concept because we have to educate the occupants on the biophilic components. So for example, if it is a mixed use entity, okay, Who's going to maintain the biophilic components, the green walls? I don't know why that happened, but it's okay. Who's going to do that? Who's going to be trained to do that? There's also an education for tenants to understand why these things are important and how critical it is. Hey, by the way, we did build a park, go use it. That's simple education, but that's also education for adults to teach their children. So there's components in here in occupancy and operation that are critical. And one of those is, again, let's say mixed use, right? We've created this beautiful biophilic space. Please let us not put a fast food restaurant in it. Please let us not put a vape store in it. Let's make it a requirement that we put places like Alchemy in it. And look at that segue, because look who's the next speaker is Alchemy. Isn't this amazing how we have solved all of our building problems in 5 minutes with me and Tawanda and these 100 people and Alchemy. Oh, wait, let me go to the next one. So just future collaborations are important because my alma mater is Illinois Tech, and they have a socially responsible model. So we are in works with them to do a multi-site study, which could give us built environment data that Anna was asking for. And what if we could build this project and then Illinois Tech would study it over the course of 5 or 10 years, more data for Biophilia 1. So these are just the things that run through my head, and I can whip through this right now because I've never done it before and I could get nothing wrong. So we're going to end with me. This is me. Please, any thoughts? I will go into way more detail. And there's someone here, Isaac Jones, who's building a resort, and Price, who's building a farm and does horses. These guys are doing new things, and I would love to connect with you guys so that I can follow along on these development projects and see how, that might help me. I'm going to include that in my white paper. So I know it was a little rushed, but I'm happy to explain all of the details, but I think you get the idea of what we're trying to create here. Just take all the presentations that you heard, and we'll build something. Okay? Great. Sure.
To introduce a couple who has been integrated into all of our wellness breaks and intentional closes, Tony and April, and we're actually going to go past their shop later. So,
thank you for your enthusiasm.
Got it.
Really.